Welcome, everyone. So nice to see you. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Lisa Stenerson Kramer. This is my husband, Scott Kramer, devoted dad, and our little dog, Luna. And this is the Devoted Dad podcast. So it's been, again, just interesting times, right, Canadians? and dads have a lot on their plate right now. Would you say, honey?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So we were talking today, and we were thinking about, you know, what are dads devoted to, right? And what should they be devoted to during this time? So, what do you want to share tonight, honey?
Yeah, like I chose the name or the platform to be called Devoted Dad, in making a decision on what parts of self we are going to be devoted to. Um, and what parts of self, I mean, and I come from the perspective of, internally, from a spiritual point of view within ourselves. Um, a conscious um, point of view within ourselves. Because really, I mean, everybody knows that it all starts within us, and it goes from out, and it radiates out from there. So, what parts of ourself are we going to be devoted to? And what are the parts?
Good point.
You
Yes.
know what is the wholeness of who we are as human beings? You know what you know what are we, and what are we devoted to, you know in those parts of ourselves. Yeah.
Okay. So, with everything that's going on right now, right? Dads, we've talked about this before, being the tip of the spear and
Mm-hmm.
hearing all of these different things, politically and world events and all this kind of stuff, all this noise, and then personal life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Job and economy and all this kind of stuff, right? Kids and family and dealing with all these things. There's so much stress right now. It can be really triggering for people. So, what are some of the kind of, I don't know, maybe you might say the lower aspects of self that we need to be aware of? And what are some of the higher aspects of self that dads need to be aware of
Mm-hmm.
right now?
Yeah, well, we can start off with some of the lower ones. I mean, what's going on, in the outside of ourselves, in this political and financial and economic, environment that we happen to be living in and we're affected by. We can be consumed by fear, and we can be consumed by anger. We could be consumed by grief, the loss of
Yeah.
what was,
Mm-hmm.
and it is never more.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, if we get consumed by those emotions, or those, and surrounding those emotions or thoughts, we, it, and we are consumed by that, what effect does that have to life around us, and how destructive can that be to life, by focusing on those levels of emotions and thoughts that surround them. So yeah.
Mm. So, for a dad that might be feeling like just a lot of fear right now, or maybe a lot
Mm-hmm.
of resentment, anger right
Mm-hmm.
now, what, what can they do?
It's okay to have fear and anger,
Mm,
right? I mean, a lot of the soldiers that have sat in trenches, they're scared to death.
yeah.
A lot of them are angry, and it's good to have those emotions in dangerous situations. Because it creates awareness around the danger, and it allows you to focus on what you need to do to tend to that danger. So, everything that is created in the known universe is created by God, including fear and anger. And but a character defect is described as a misuse of those God-given emotions. So, so if we use fear and anger appropriately, it brings our attention to it, then we can use anger to be like, well, damned if this will take us down. I'll be damned if it's going to put me on the street. So I'll be damned if we're going to lose our country over this. And it can be supportive to life, being aware of the danger, and it spurs us to action in a positive way. So, but we must be devoted to the fact that those should be just transient.
Okay.
That they should pass through us and not be attached to us. Not be stay so narrowly focused on fear and anger. So it turns into terror and rage, right? Which can be destructive to life itself.
Yeah.
And so that our lives don't become consumed by them.
Yeah.
Right? So one of the things that we do need, and I was talking to some young men the other night, and I said, we must have courage. And you cannot have one without the other. You cannot have courage without fear.
Yeah.
If there's no fear, then there's no need for courage. Right? And without courage, there's no fear. So one can't exist without the other. Right? So fear is essential to life, just as courage is essential to life. They're all connected. They all are can be used together in a positive way. Led by awareness, presence, and undivided attention. Right? So courage is moving forward in spite of our fear.
Yeah.
And courage is having integrity. Courage is the ability to be honest with ourselves. Courage is to be able to let go of what we thought was what it is. And to be able to live with what the reality and the truth of what is. And to be able to accept it. And be able to willing to move on. Right?
So if dads are feeling, upset in any kind of upset emotion, right? If they're feeling stuck, right? Understanding, if I'm hearing you right, it's understanding that wherever you're at, it is a God-given emotion, but you can use that to move to a different level.
And that's right. I had a friend of mine, her mother died, and she was grieving. And she was so upset. Like, she just I don't know what to do with my grief. It feels so terrible and so rotten and horrible. And I said, well, God gave us grief for a reason. Grief is a tool that we use to allow these emotions to pass through. Grief is a tool that can be used to help us cope with the loss of a loved one. So we should celebrate grief. We should welcome it because we know that's the appropriate tool to deal with the loss of a loved one. When we have fear, we should celebrate it. Thank you, fear, for bringing my attention to this dangerous situation. Now I need to attend to it. But if I become attached to fear, attached to grief, attached to anger, then that consumes my whole being of what I am.
Okay.
And so it gets stuck in us.
Yeah. And then hence
Mhm.
a lot of dads are feeling stuck. They're either
That's right.
feeling stuck in anger, or they're feeling stuck in fear, or even feeling stuck in apathy. Just, I don't care anymore. All of these things, which,
These are
you
all
know,
things that are tools to be used. And if you can see them and observe them and be aware of them and what their functions are, and see that they are only to be, they are just transient. Every emotion that we have, whether it's love, joy, courage, willingness, acceptance, intellect, everything is transient. It's meant to pass through. It's not meant to be held on to. It's not meant to be stuck within us. And allow it like a stream to flow through you and to come out of you. It is meant to be temporary. And so courage is at times, there are moments of courage where, you can jump up in front of a machine gun nest and run forward and get things done in the spur of a moment, and you don't think that you did anything particularly courageous except survive. There are those moments. But sometimes an act of courage, just getting up in the morning and putting one leg at a time in your pants,
okay.
brushing your teeth and getting out that door and doing the next right thing. So courage comes in many forms, and is moving forward in spite of your fear, and that is the transcendent stage. That is the place where we can transcend to a higher state of being, is by having courage.
Mm-hmm.
And in this more positive way of living, entering into a more positive way of living, right? And yeah, it's a good place to be,
So what I'm hearing is that for Canadian dads out there, if you are feeling upset or in a struggle, we hear you, we see you. It's natural, right? It is natural to have these feelings. But like you say, when you bring courage to that can take those feelings and transmute them into something greater.
That's right.
And then it's kind of understanding, okay, what am I going to be devoted to, as you talked about at the beginning, right? Like, what's the goal?
The thing is about what I'm talking about may not change the circumstances around you immediately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? It's a state of being. So I think I would rather be in a state of optimism and courage than living in a state of fear and anger. You're living in the present, the here and now. Whatever crap is going on, it's going on. You have to accept that. But I think from the perspective that I would rather look at it from is from a state of courage and optimism than fear and anger. And I have that choice with what I want to do. So when you understand that you don't, being angry and fearful and full of grief and pride and all those things, and you understand that those aren't what you are. Those don't define you.
Mm-hmm. No, it's just moments.
They don't define you.
Yeah.
And neither does courage or anything else. Like, they don't define you. What defines you is the ability to make the choice of how you want to use each one of those things.
Mm.
And that's the place you want to come from, is to have the ability to observe the situation. See, in this situation, yeah, I need to be scared of that bear and I need to run. You know, in this situation, I need to have courage. I'm backed in a corner, I got to pick up a stick and fight. You know, and, or yeah, I need to use my brains and not walk down that path where the bears are in the first place, right? You know, so you can come from that place where you can see it, and you can and you have the power and the freedom to pick the right emotions and the right perspective and the right approach to the situation. So with what's going on with our nation and the existential threat to our existence as a country, what can we do as dads? Well, I am society and you're society. And my relationship with you is society. So if I come from a dark place, it's going to affect my relationship with you. So if I come from a place of grievance and anger, resentment, and pride, that's going to affect my relationship with you. But if I come from a place of love, joy, intellect, acceptance, willingness, and courage, that's going to affect my relationship with you. So I have a choice of what kind of relationship I want with you. So that's, and that affects not only my relationship with you, with my wife, my kids, my colleagues, my clients, the society all around me. So we need to make that decision. From that place of observation, and we need to make that, we need to make that choice. And as fathers, and only good can come from it. And the thing is we don't know what will come from it. But if we make the right choice, only good can come from it. Right? So, yeah.
Wonderful. Well, Canadian dads, we just want you to know that we see you, right? We see you, we hear you, and we're here for you. We're here for you. And just thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for all the positive feedback that you've been giving us. And we look forward to seeing you again soon.
Yeah. Well, thank you, my friends. Love you lots. Elbows up. Devoted Dad.